A'udzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin tahirin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilman. So, assalamu alaikum everyone, and we are continuing with our daily reflections on a single verse of the Quran. And today's reflection is from a verse that most of us are familiar with. It comes from chapter 94 of the Quran, which is Sura Inshirah. And it says, "Inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra." So surely with difficulty is ease, with difficulty is surely ease, and some translations say, truly with hardship comes more ease. So very interesting. The verse is repeated twice, just with a very slight variation. And the scholars tell us that the verses mean that whatever difficulties or troubles are encountered by men, Allah always provides a solution, a way out, a relief, a way to lead to ease and happiness if only we follow His path and show our faith by patience and right action. The solution or relief does not come after the difficulty. We are told it is provided right along with it. And they also say that the emphasis and repetition of the verse twice may imply that there is always more ease than difficulty. This is such a beautiful and hopeful verse of the Quran. And while we often read that there is a silver lining in the clouds, that hard times eventually pass, that this too shall pass, that's something we hear very often. This verse actually reminds us that there is relief and ease not after a trial or challenging time, but right along with it. Truly with hardship comes ease. So when we are going through tough times and challenges, the human mind tends to focus on the negative. There's many reasons for that, which we won't go into today. But we get tunnel vision. In other words, our focus kind of narrows, our attention zooms in on what is wrong, on what the problem is, what is troubling us, what is not quite right. And it takes consciousness and intention to direct our attention to the ease that may be still present in our lives. Let's, try to understand this with an example. So, say, for example, my knee is hurting or my back is hurting. So my attention will obviously go to my knee or my back, to the pain. And what I'm not noticing at that point, that the rest of my body may be in fact pain-free, that my organs are working okay, that my limbs are fine, I'm able to walk, I'm able to lift weight. And in this way, human beings, we begin to lose perspective and we begin to see our whole life in terms of the challenge or the difficulty. In other words, when our attention is zooming in on the difficulty, it is taking over our whole attention, right? There's no space for anything else. And if you imagine our life, the entirety of our life, like a big circle or like a ball, what happens is that the problem kind of expands to fill in that whole space, to make no room for that. And at times like this, when this happens, when we notice ourselves doing it, that we're only focusing on the problems, this verse is a really good way to remind ourselves that no matter how bad things may seem at any given time, that although we may have significant challenges, that the wrong may be capturing our attention to a greater extent, this is not the entire story of our life. So surviving challenges and thriving during difficult times requires that we expand our focus, that we kind of, take that tunnel vision and make an intention to kind of look around what else is there. We begin to pay attention to the blessings that we still enjoy, to what is still going right in our lives, to the resources that we may have, to the people that show up in our challenging times, to the ease amongst the difficulty. Now, here's the thing. This does not mean that we are minimizing the challenge or that we're ignoring the pain. Not at all, because it doesn't help us to pretend it's not happening or to kind of minimize grief or pain or distress. No, what it does mean is that we have a realistic perspective, that we put the problem or the challenge in its place, and not rather than allowing it to take over our entire awareness, that we still have room for the ease in our lives, that we are still looking at the blessings, that we are still cognizant of the resources that we have, that we continue to notice the ease amongst the hardship. So people who've been through really tough times often get this. They report that during the toughest and most challenging times of their life, what they became present to was the love, support, and kindness of friends, which they had not been aware of or perhaps had taken for granted, and how some things seemed to magically work out, even while a major part of their life seemed to be falling apart. So, people who thrive and survive during these challenges get that truly with hardship comes ease. And they continue to notice and be grateful for the ease, even while they may be hurting, distressed, or mourning in grief from the hardship. So, this verse is such a beautiful reminder for us to actually look for that ease when we are feeling overwhelmed by challenging times, when we are feeling like there is nothing going on, right in our lives. We need to look at this verse and remind ourselves that there is still more uh, ease than hardship in our lives, that we can choose to direct our attention to what is working well at the same time as the troubles that surround us. And this does not mean that we're ignoring our problems, but it actually may give us the resilience. When we are calmer and more grateful, we may be more present to resources that we have. So we may be better able to deal with these challenges. And so, doing this, in other words, doing this as a regular practice can enhance our confidence to deal with problems, and they may become to be more limited and time bound rather than global and all pervasive, as they sometimes can feel like, right? And it also reminds us that we have resources to deal with the situation at hand. So may we all be able to find and look for the ease amongst the hardship. So thank you for listening, and inshallah, see you again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.